Squeak, squeak.
Action, squeak, squeak.
That's a good idea, put it right there on the tripod.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do. So our stand setup. What's that?
Do you Velcro or glue it?
Yeah, Velcro, double side Velcro tape.
That's brilliant.
Hot glue would probably work
I
better.
use double-sided tape.
Yeah, the hot glue would work better because I had a problem in the summer. Maybe it was an old double-sided Velcro I had that was the adhesive would get melt in the summer and it would not get knocked off or fall off. But it works pretty well. You know, that's our communication.
That's a good idea right there. 'Cause
Well,
that'll stop a coyote in a heartbeat.
Yeah, every time.
Okay.
Well, not every time.
Not every time.
Most of the time.
Usually I'm like,
Yeah, that's how I did it. They were running, it's a $7 squeaker, bro.
but the thing is, sometimes you can't get loud enough. And
That's
that,
right.
That thing was, that's instantaneous.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
shit, he's had a bark out, squeak, 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 and they just keep coming.
yeah.
You know, then they
Yeah.
lock up. But we'll hit that, or, squeak them. In theory, yes. Squeak, squeak, and when it stops and looks, it's 3, 2, 1, bang.
That's good moving.
Yeah.
So that's the big, I hate to say it, but we're talking about this now, but like me and my buddy we just started hunting together, and the communication.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, and we talked with Coop about that, how military, military law enforcement, how that plays a role when you're hunting with somebody, the tactical side of the military or law enforcement, how you have to communicate to make those, me and he'll make, for the most part, simultaneous shots. That's based on the squeaker and the count, right?
Yeah.
But if you're hunting guys that don't know, and we've made mistakes too.
Yeah. That's the thing, is like, my guy, it's more civilian population up there. So
Yeah.
we speak 2 different languages.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we'll get into that. That's a good topic. And that's all we're doing is press upon what we use, how we do it. Because some guys hunt together and they don't really think about it. Maybe we should freaking communicate.
Yeah.
It's dog bang.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
You gotta move them in, you gotta friggin'.
That's right.
We talk about who's shooting first.
That's right.
Who's following up.
Usually Chance shoots first.
I'm the fastest miss in the Marine Corps. I'm quick on that trigger.
So my buddy, like, friggin', for some reason he had a new AR and friggin' he had 2 misfires. Friggin'. So I'm like, clunk. I'm like, the fuck?
It's all right. We can cuss over here.
Yeah. Oh, well, Timmy, rags on me for being the first one to shoot. He shot a couple out from underneath me, or he's been a double, picture perfect double. Everyone wants a picture perfect double coming in. We're going to do
At the call. So
At the
40,
call.
50 yards.
At the call. They're like 10 yards from the call. They're 40, 50 yards from us. They come in and we're like, all right, right. And our communication, our countdown's always squeak, squeak, 3, 2, 1, bang, or ready, 3, 2, 1, then we shoot. Well, these two come in and they're coming and I was like, Tim, hard right, hard right. And I was like, are you got him, Mark? Hey, he's looking over his shoulder. He's looking over his shoulder. There's another one. All right, we got 2. We got 2. All right. Timmy's like, you're on the lead one. I'm on the lead one. He said, get him. And they just
Pull the trigger.
just pull it, get him, bang. You can see in my scope that my reticle's down at the coyote's ankle because I have the RLL rangefinder on my IRA and I'm trying to range them because I do a 50-yard zero offset and all that stuff. And Timmy does a 100-yard zero, so I'm trying to get him the dope for his holdover. And he was like, get him, boom.
So it sounds like Tim, you and me, we were in the field together that first time. We were out here in the back.
I will tell that story. We'll tell that. That was unsuppressed too. Inside. We'll tell that. We'll tell that story. We'll start off with something like that. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Hey guys, Chance with Preying on Predators here with Timmy Ray from Drop Zone Hunting. We got our special guest, retired Marine Corps Sergeant Major Bryan Zickefoose. So Bryan, you run a guide service up in Maine, correct?
I don't run a guy service. I am a guy.
He is a guy.
He is the
So
guy.
I work for Grove Hill Outfitters, who does bear and moose hunts. So my guy, Craig Corzai, who owns the Grove Hill Outfitters,
Retired Sergeant Major.
retired first sergeant.
First sergeant, I'm sorry.
Recon. He bought the lodge years ago, and I came up there thinking, I went up on a bear hunt, one of his first times that he actually opened his lodge up, and fell in love with Maine, and here I am now, and I went out, became a Maine registered guide, which is no joke. I mean, you literally got to take an oral written exam to do it, and you got to be a woodsman.
That's right.
So it's fun.
Before we get into that, let's go back to your Marine Corps. You got a pretty prestigious career. Z's a good friend of ours. So tell everybody just a little brief overview what you've done in the Marine Corps overall.
So I came to the Marine Corps, I joined the Marine Corps in '84 in the delayed entry program. '85 went to boot camp, August '85, and became an infantryman. And went to school, went to barracks duty in Norfolk, Virginia, or not Norfolk, Yorktown, Virginia. And then went to the fleet and became an infantryman in the 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines. And I decided to do something different, so I joined Scout Sniper Platoon, went to sniper school.
And when was that? What year did you go to the sniper school?
I think it was 90 or 80, as you were, 88.
Was that at Lejeune at the time?
No, it was actually Camp Pelton.
Okay.
So 1st Marine Division right there, they had division schools right there. And I went to the schoolhouse, graduated. Shortly after we graduated, we went to the Gulf War and, multiple combat actions. Gulf War, Kosovo, Somalia, been to the Philippines, Iraq and Afghanistan multiple times. And throughout my career, I've always stayed kind of infantry side. Even when I became a sergeant major, first sergeant, stayed in infantry company and infantry regiment, infantry the division, 2nd Marine Division, and then the MEF, and then on to Southcom. As we're 4-star admiral down there at Southcom. We had all the military operations, South America, Central America, and the Caribbean, a lot of drug operations and stuff like that.
Did you do a lot of partner nation force training down there as well?
Exactly, a lot of partner nation. I was pulling marijuana or cocoa plants out in Colombia,
Nice.
doing drug interdiction with who was that? Not El Salvador, one of the countries down there. We get on the boats and we do a drug interdiction. We do a lot of different things with our partner nations. Any kind of military operations that we partner with that our country with our partner nation countries.
And just to cover your military experience is what I'm leading into is coyote hunting and just hunting in general. Do you see where that helps you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Your tactics or your marksmanship and all that. I mean, you're a scout sniper, so you can hit bullseye once in a while.
So as a kid, I was a big guy. I liked to hunt, right?
Right.
I hunted and fished when I was a kid, mostly small game at that time with a lot of birds, right?
Right.
I didn't really get into coyote hunting until later in the Marine Corps, but in reality is we used to hunt coyotes. Totally different than we do in Nebraska.
Right.
Than we did in North Carolina.
There's it was day hunting in Nebraska. Is that what you?
Almost all
Day hunting.
But
So no night vision thermal game during
No.
that time.
I mean, some of the older guys had that stuff, but
Okay.
I was young and not, back then night vision and thermals were really expensive.
Yes.
So,
$20,000-$30,000.
yeah, you ain't,
more.
22, 24-year-old kid.
Nebraska's setup. What is that? I've never.
Open. So I used to have the sand hills in Nebraska,
Okay.
open plains
Okay.
with ravines, with like heavier vegetation in the ravines.
So is that kind of like Texas, I guess?
So it depends on what part of Texas. Texas does all different stuff. Nebraska's the plains and
Okay.
the sand hills. And there's a dividing line in Nebraska, right, where one's just sand hills and one is a little bit flatter country,
Yeah,
more like
definitely.
Oklahoma.
So yeah, exactly. A lot of cattle land. So you get out further out west, you get a little more hillies, a little more cattle land.
What kind of shots you guys take out that way, distance wise?
So when I used to run them, we'd run them on the other side of the ravines and shoot across ravines. It could be 150, 200 yards out.
What do you mean run them?
So we'd we'd drive up to a ravine and freaking set our vehicles up in, get out. Hopefully, usually better when it's snowy out.
Okay.
I would get in the prone position because it was a solid position for me.
Right.
Didn't have a tripod back then.
That's right.
And I could get in the prone a lot easier than I do now. So
Well, that's 30-some years of infantry too.
yeah. So you get in the snow, you lock your elbows in, and it's like a great position. And you get out there and shoot a couple rounds in the air, and freaking coyotes will run out the other side, knowing that you know, somebody's up there they don't like.
Yeah.
And all you do is lead them a little bit more than you would for anything else.
That's right.
Yeah, coyotes will move.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get to flying. And,
What are they running, like 40 mile an hour or something?
Some of them
Yeah.
are up to 40 miles an hour.
They're
I've heard something 45 miles an hour.
They're scooting.
You know, sometimes they can't outrun that 3,500 feet per second bullet though.
no, for sure.
That's right.
What type of rifles were you all using?
Back then it was an AR platform, and matter of fact, that didn't even have a flat rail on it.
Huh?
It had a scope on it, carrying handle.
Like the old M16A1s.
A2s, or
AJs.
actually had an A2 with a shorter barrel on it, and had the carrying handle on top. Had this little, matter of fact, the scope I used was a scope that I had gotten during the Gulf War. That I picked up a rifle from an old Mazda something like that. So it was like a cheap little scope that I liked.
Right.
And I put it on there, and I eventually ended up shooting that one. I had a different scope on prior to that, like a little B square or something like that.
Okay.
It was easy on or off scope, but it worked. The system worked. And,
That's right.
And
We listen to a lot of people and podcasts and videos. You go back to Johnny Stewart tapes, you know, and guys still use them.
Yeah.
And you know, we're going to talk about gear and stuff like that, but the technology today is so far advanced from
Oh,
when
yeah,
you
for
started.
sure.
So, I mean, it still comes down to fundamentals and talking to your partner, whoever you're with, and all that stuff.
well, that's key right there. You know, one of the things as a sniper, you always have, you know, your sniper observer dialogue.
That's right.
Always one of the most important things in the world. And your observer is almost more important than you, the shooter.
Yeah, he's calling all the
'Cause
wind and
he's
all
doing everything.
right?
He's doing everything for you. Shooting's the easy part.
Yeah, you dial the scope or hold and squeeze the trigger.
Exactly. It's about repetition of shooting and
That's right.
understanding the program. So
And you can see the correlation with that training into what
Oh,
we
yeah,
do
for
as
sure.
coyote hunters, and when you're hunting with a partner, is, you know, communication and your basic fundamentals, right?
oh yeah,
You know,
definitely.
your breathing and all that, which, you know, when coyotes are running in, we all get that heavy breathing going on.
So that was the thing, you know, I use a Colin X, like a Colin X clip on.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found with that is, you know, my proper eye relief for that one, the clip on was more important than anything. So, because if you don't have the proper eye relief and the proper sight picture, you have a little bit of scope shadow in that clip-on system,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to hit what you're aiming at. So it took me a little bit of time to figure out that whole system.
That's what you're using now.
Right, that's what I'm using right now.
And what is it?
The Colin X, it's made by Leica.
Like it? Okay, like it. Yeah.
So-
So good gear. Good gear. Good
Really
gear.
good. I ran into a guy and we talked about it, and I decided to go for it and see what happened.
So with the scope picture and the side alignment, you know, having scope shadow, is you feel that, or have you found that it's more magnified, or like if you're using a traditional day optic and I have a little scope shadow on the left, you know, I may hit a little farther to the right, you know, but still MOA of deer, but is it amplified
I think it's
more?
amplified because you know, I think my Leica Colin X is probably 6 inches long, it's maybe a little shorter than that. So I think because the scope shadow, if you get it off your bell or the objective lens of your scope, it's probably not as fine. You know, you're not going to get that much, but with the sight being that much longer, a little bit of scope shadow probably is a lot magnified at that range. Those
And,
ranges.
it's night vision, correct?
No, it's a
It's
thermal.
thermal.
What are you running it behind with scope?
So I'm running I got so many damn scopes, but it's a SIG scope. It's a 3x14 SIG scope. I have to think about it for a second. May have to come back to it.
They're
But-
kilo line of scopes, or the
No, it's,
Sigma 6,
No,
BDX.
it's a BDX. It's a BDX series, but I can't remember which one it is.
But you
I
said-
got 3 or 4 of them, and I can't remember which one.
Oh, I mean, you get some of these scope names and they're, you know, 20 characters long, you know, you just can't remember.
It's a Tango something, I think what it is.
Now in Maine, you doing, you know, your bear guiding now, you're coyote hunting up there. How's that? And is it wintertime real good for you? I mean, I know you guys get a ton of
Which one?
snow up there.
Coyote hunting?
Yeah.
So the coyote hunt is so during deer season, you can't hunt coyotes at night.
Okay.
So most people shut down during deer season. So deer season runs for almost 3 months, and it's like almost December 15th before you can start shooting any kind of coyote at night. You can shoot them during the day, but not at night.
Okay.
So once that starts, a lot of the traditional way to hunt coyotes in Maine is baiting.
Okay.
So a lot of people use bait, and they put a bait site right off at their house with a little camera.
Because everything's pretty remote up there.
Right. So basically, you don't have to. You can shoot off your pond. You can put a bait right on your pond, and then put a little like garage door ringer on your thing, so if something comes in, it rings off, and you can get out there and you can shoot your coyote.
Oh, that makes it easy. You sit there,
Watch
watch Yellowstone. Oh,
Believe it or not, some people do.
Yeah.
I see guys that had, they bring the shooting house, they'd sled it out there, put their bait site out there, have a TV inside the shooting house, and then they could actually, with their site, they can plug it into the TV and literally lay in the prone position or lay in the rack and just like move their scope around using the TV to sight it in.
Yeah, my wife and I did that before I had a spotter. I just had a Pulsar Thermion XT38 scoop. Wi-Fi'd it to my phone, and we were sitting in this ground blind hunting over a bait site. So we weren't calling or anything like that. And I would just sit there with a rifle on the tripod and just scan, watching my phone, and she's watching it that way. And that's how we were, spotting and hunting on bait sites. Now, do y'all hunt right over the bait site and shoot them over bait sites, or do you set off to the side and try to catch them on avenues of approach?
So me, I'm more traditionalist. I mean, my place I don't do that. We go to different places, and we set, we use, predator calls and different things like that.
So are you hunting fields?
Fox Bros, fields,
Well, I'm saying
open areas.
Open fields, yeah.
So there's a couple different open areas.
I've never been up there yet, so.
It's pretty, you need to come on.
I know I need to come. I've been saying that for years, but.
We got a couple good fields we shoot at, and then there's farmers out there that need coyotes killed.
That's right.
Cows that are out there and different things.
Predation.
So they're pretty, people want coyotes, because the coyote population is pretty heavy up there. They're pretty destructive on the deer, and then especially the grouse. Grouse are pretty much, if it's a heavy winter, they might find themselves in some bad situations with coyotes.
Is there a bounty or anything in Maine for coyotes? Or is there any money?
No, I don't think. That's a good question. I've never been asked that. Right now there is not. But a good coyote up there could weigh 55.
Yeah.
50 pounds
Solid,
easy.
solid. Yeah.
And they do say some of the coyotes up there have a wolf gene in them, so they're pretty big. And a lot of guys will shoot 223s, they'll shoot 308s.
308s?
Yeah, they want a bigger round, knock down coyote.
Yeah, 55-pound coyote is pretty solid.
Yeah, it's solid. They may have a larger, thoracic cavity or whatever, but the vitals are relatively going to be about the same. But then the difference between a coyote up there and down here is going to be their fur. So if your shot's not on par, you're not having the right ammo to do it. You're not going to, with a 223 or a smaller caliber, you may not get, having to push through all that thicker, heavier fur. Do coyotes get fat layer in them, like something like a bear or deer?
Not nearly as much as like a bear. A bear will have 3 inches.
3-4 inches. Yeah.
But there will be a layer on them, but not like a bear would, or
Are y'all still like running ballistic tips like the VMAX and nozzle ballistic tips, or are you going
I
to
use all VMAX.
all VMAX?
I like VMAX. I use a 308, 110 grain VMAX.
So is 308 like a 30 caliber just a pretty popular in like the mainstream caliber up
Yeah, I
there?
think 223 is still pretty popular. Some of the guys use 6.5 Creedmoors, but I shoot a SIG 716 DMR G2 with a Tango 4, I think it is. Scope on with the Collinex, like a Collinex on it.
What's in your area? Is there a lot of people coyote hunting, or is that a thing?
It is a thing. With the people up there that I know, almost everybody's a hunter up there, especially where I'm at. So they hunt coyotes different ways, but a lot of them have a lot more land and stuff like that where they could set up on bait sites and stuff like that. Most of my hunting, we go to different places and
Yeah.
set up.
Yeah, land access up there, is it public, private, and you gotta go get permission from the farmer?
So as long as it's not, I mean, ideally you always ask for permission.
Right,
But by law, as long as it's not marked as no hunting or trespassing, you can shoot off it.
really,
And you gotta be 500 yards from the structure, or you gotta,
right.
you know, all the rules the Warden Service says you gotta keep to.
Now, is that, I know some states have a electronic thing, like on Onyx, it would outline the property and say that. Has Maine done that, or do you have to look for signs that say no hunting mark? Like here in North Carolina, you use purple paint, it's, 4 to 6 foot above, 2 foot in diameter.
Same
whatever.
rules.
Same rules.
So Onyx gives you a lot of different properties with their names on it. It doesn't say you can't hunt it or not, or no trespassing, but it'll tell you like a name of who owns the land, and then you can ideally find out
Right.
who owns it and move to it,
That's right.
and go ask permission. So,
And you run Onyx as well?
oh yeah, definitely. I use Onyx. I got a Jeep up there. It's a big wood, so we got over 100,000 acres. So I run an inReach also. So there's no signal up there,
Right.
phone signal. So you may be in the woods for hours before you get any kind of signal to get out of there. So the inReach, Garmin inReach is key
Okay.
for me up there
Yeah.
for sure. And I've only been up there 5 or 6 years. Some of those guys know the area a lot better than I do. So.
Yeah. What about, are you hunting off the snowmobiles? I know you got.
I've
cheap
never done that
snowmobiles.
yet, but
I mean, do you use that to get around in the winter?
I do, but I don't really use it for hunting.
Okay.
And then, because you got to set it, I haven't yet to figure out how I want to carry the gear on a snowmobile.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot of, it's like outrigging a four-wheeler or even
That's
your
right.
vehicle with stuff. My truck is set up right now, and I got enough movement I can go different places with it,
Right.
set up.
That's right.
But eventually I want to get to that point where me and my buddy want to get to a point where we can get out there and run snowmobiles at different places.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
It was cold up there. I've seen some of your videos.
Yeah, it gets a little chilly.
You're going a little fast too for me. I've seen some of his snowmobile videos. I want to tell a quick story not how I met Z, but when he was here in the Marine Corps, he come out and do a little coyote hunting with me on the property. And we're in my blind. Again, guys, this was back before I was calling and moving, hunting my one piece of property here. And I take Z out, and we're sitting in the blind. We weren't out there that long. And
15, 20 minutes.
didn't know what I was doing. I think I called a little bit, probably baby cottontail because that was my go-to. And one comes in, and I'm on the 223, or he's on my 223, unsuppressed. Now we're unsuppressed in a shed that I've cut windows out of for a blind, a permanent blind. And I get back then, we wasn't running battery packs, so the thermals were shut off, or the scope was shut off until the coyotes would come in. So I turn it on for him. I had the push button for the external DVR, and I literally I said I got 9, I told him before, I got 9 seconds before the video starts, once I flip the switch. So I reach up, I flip everything on. I hit the switch for the recorder, I reach down and grab my thermal, and before I get into my eye, pow! I mean, just the concussion inside that shed was unbelievable. And it takes off running. Pow! And on the video, I think it catches about the 3rd round. And you actually see a deer. And that's, guys talk about, coyote hunting. Yeah, yes, coyote's going to dictate your deer movement and us hunting it. But, a lot of times we shoot deer standing right there. And literally there's a deer standing there. She shoots. Coyote runs past the deer. It actually stops and turns and looks at us. And I'm trying to find it in the scope, in my thermal, in the spotter. Pow! He's like, got him. He drops him. But he's like, got him. And I go, I can't hear a effing thing. I probably, 4 or 5 rounds, I don't know. Inside, because the barrel wasn't even out the window. He was shooting from inside. But it was a good time. My hair came back after a day.
After a day or so.
Yeah, but I'll tell you that 223, has a concussion on
It
the
was
inside of the
shocking.
building.
Yeah.
Especially those muzzle brakes here, or
Yeah.
they're not,
Yeah.
that was a non-suppressed gun.
Yeah, that was the unsuppressed. That was back before we got.
I don't know how I ever hunted without a suppressor
That's
before. You know, I had a buddy come over the other day, and he was doing some load development. He built a 6 arc bolt gun, and he was doing some load development. He wanted true baseline velocities, then put his suppressor on and see what the difference was. And he was shooting unsuppressed. I had electronic earmuffs on, and I'm still like, man, this is just not pleasant.
Yeah.
You know?
But you can also still feel the concussion or the
Yeah.
shock wave, I guess, off of it.
I shoot suppressor now too.
You got to.
For that same reason.
And what's the laws up there on that? It's pretty. Like
So it used to
Carolina?
be, it used to be you had to have, you had to apply for a permit to shoot the hunt with your suppressor. But last year they stopped that law, so
Good.
now as long as you got a suppressor and you're legal, you can hunt with it.
Now Maine's pretty gun friendly.
Very gun friendly state,
Probably lower crime up there too. Since that.
probably.
For that.
Put it this way, if you got a Maine driver's license, you can get sealed carry up.
Yeah.
As long as you're not a felon.
That's right.
But
All
other
the
than-
standard stuff.
Now, did you ever do any coyote hunting on Lejeune when you were here?
Nope, never did.
You know, around here, coyote hunting has the South, well, North Carolina as a whole. It's been going on for a while, but I think here in this region, I feel it's really taken off.
It has taken off, you know, before, you know, never heard, the only people I heard were coyote hunting or coyote trappers, or the, you know, people out deer hunting, and it was a target of opportunity,
Yes, right.
coyote crossed them.
That's basically how we hunted coyote when I was a kid. Every once in a while we go out, let's do coyotes when there's, you know, deer season was over,
Yeah.
there's snow on the ground, all the conditions are good for coyote hunting. And, but now it's like people actually coyote hunt.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, I've only been in the game 6-7 years now, 6 years. So, you know, I don't know. There's been some tournaments going on for 10 years here in North Carolina. Do they do any tournament hunting up there in Maine? Anything
I'm sure they
like
do,
that?
but I've never been a part of any of the kind of tournaments. But I got, you know, we meet up all the time. I talk to people about hunting, coyote hunting. There's like 3 or 4 guys up there I know are pretty avid coyote
Right.
hunters. But a good year for them is like 6 coyotes.
Really?
Really?
I mean,
I mean, that's a good night for us.
Yeah, that's tough. But they're hunting usually baits off their backyard.
Yeah, so they're not calling and moving.
Yeah, they're not moving.
Like
So
we're doing here.
You know, coyotes are highly adaptive animals, they're highly intelligent, and they learn very quickly, so I wonder if they have 1 or 2 come in, or they shoot one over bait pile, and those animals have learned, hey, look, you know, let's
Exactly.
do that. And that's why, you know, hogs will do the same thing, they get conditioned to stuff. So originally I'm from Texas, and the way I would hunt hogs is we'd have a bait site, corn pile, and deer stand. You know, we wouldn't hunt over there because we found that they would just hang out in the woods and wouldn't come out until we left. So we started hunting avenues of approach, like we go in there, find their tracks, and because they're going to use the same cattle trails, deer trails that the other game were using.
it makes
And
total sense.
And we'd set off 300, 500 yards away and catch them as they were coming. And we weren't calling it. I had the Johnny Stewart cassette tape, and we put it in the truck, the farm truck, and crank it to call them in. But one of the first times I ever went coyote hunting in Texas, we were the farmer. He was burning the field off like a CRP field. It wasn't a CRP. He was just burning it off before he replanted, rotating his land for crops. We were burning it off, and we were standing in the bed of his truck, and he had an old M16A2 or AR-15, but a clone of a A2. And coyote comes out. It's about 200 yards. He says, honk the horn. I honk the horn. It stops and looks, and he shoots. Hits the thing, and it does the death spin, and then gets up and takes off running. And he's laid across the top of his truck, just cracking off. And I'm watching. Like, this is the coolest thing ever.
That's kind of how we do it. Same principle, right? Except for we were standing above, vegetation is overgrown and shooting them across the ravine.
Yeah. But that's how we did it.
Multiple rounds.
Oh yeah, multiple rounds. Accuracy by
Well,
volume.
I don't think that hasn't changed with us, because we don't get them on that first shot. We're going after them.
A coyote's not leaving that field unscathed.
That's right.
He's going to have PTSD,
That's
or he's
right.
going to be shot. One of the two.
Coyotes are smart too.
They
They won't come back. If you do that one call, and they get shot at, they will not come back to that same call.
And, you know, the negative experience that Terry Cook says about it, you know, they associate, and that goes for anybody, that goes for us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you come here to the lodge and every time you walk in, I smack you in the face, you're probably not gonna come back to the
I'm
lodge.
gonna duck when I come in.
Yeah, you're gonna duck, but you're gonna adapt, right? You're gonna duck and they come up swinging. But yeah, they're very smart, you know. But you can make that one call and they just be dumb as hell.
Yeah.
Come running into that call. I mean,
Yeah, I think it goes back to their triggers and their instincts take over their education at
That's
times.
right.
You know, food, sex, breeding, and territory.
Yep.
You get those three things at the right time. You know, I don't think any coyote's not callable. It just has to be the right situation, the right time.
I agree with that,
Sure.
because we go back to the last one we killed, gave him 3 calls, didn't want nothing to do with that one, that was what he was wanting that night, so. And that could change the next night, he could've got a full belly that night, and now he just wants to fight the next day, so. Down here, we run family groups of, what, you say, 5 to 7 dogs generally on a territory. Is that about the same up there with you
Yeah, I think
guys?
they're pretty much normally the same. You know, they run, they don't really, they come in by packs, right?
Right.
Necessarily.
Well, they're not like wolf packs where
Right.
they're always together, I mean.
But they're like here, and one over here,
Yes.
and one over there.
And they'll come together.
Yeah, they'll come together
Right.
and hunt, but other than that, they're a lone solitary animal, right?
And wolves, you said wolves, is there any
There's
purebred
no wolves
wolves?
up there, no purebred wolves. But there's, cause they say there's a wolf gene in it. If you talk to
Yeah,
some of
well-
the old timers in there, they swear to God there's wolves up
No,
there.
studies have shown, DNA studies for coyotes, and you probably read this, Chance, I think the eastern coyote, which is what we have here, has about an 8% DNA, something like that, and but it has like a 4 to 8% of domestic dog, because they've crossbred over years. And this isn't like, this is years and decades of breeding, you know,
Yeah,
to what I've read.
I'd be very interested to see what percentage of wolves
But that's why they say the
Dog.
eastern coyote is bigger than the western coyote, because it moved east, bred with some wool, the gray wolves or
Yeah,
whatever.
gray wolves, red wolves.
Yeah.
You know, and up north, you know, like Minnesota, Michigan, you know, that area, the Canadian border, you have the timber wolves up there, which are a lot larger than your other wolves. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's some crossbreeding in there, but from everything that I've seen and studied, is wolves and coyotes don't get along. Like, you know, a wolf will kill a coyote.
That's right.
Oh, for sure.
You know, one thing I heard on a podcast the other day with Joey Worth was talking about I don't remember what the scientist studies were, but she is about aging animals off of bones and stuff and teeth, and they were getting back teeth of deer that these, you know, hunters have harvested their deer, and it's a 6-year-old deer, it's an 8-year-old deer,
Right.
and come find out it's 12 years old, it's 14 years old.
Wow.
You know, it's a lot older than they think. And then same thing with coyotes. It's like, hey, we think this is a 4-year-old dog, and it's an 8-year-old dog. And her theory is that humans have misjudged the age of animals and their age range and life expectancy by a great deal. Like, you know, you may think, hey, this is a 4-year-old coyote, and he's actually a lot older than that. You know, because you think 4 years in an average dog, are his teeth really worn down that much?
Right.
You know,
Right.
granted, he's not gnawing on bones every day and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, you see some of these dogs that are killed on YouTube or wherever, and they've got nubs,
Yeah.
you know, for their teeth. I wonder how old those animals really are.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's the same with all the animals up there. Like, it's not unusual to see a moose that's really, 15, 18 years old, I guess. And that's, that's what, after you take a tooth and they send it back, they tell you how old that animal is. But
So what do you gotta do? You have to send jawbones in, or?
not a jawbone, a tooth.
A tooth?
Take a tooth out, and then I can't remember which one it is.
And that's for every harvest?
Yeah, of a moose. So they track moose pretty deep.
Okay.
Is it a requirement of harvesting a moose? You have
Oh,
to
yeah.
send it in?
For sure.
Yeah, they do that for bear here in North Carolina.
Bears the same way.
Yeah,
Bears
you
the
have to
same way.
do that. They'll send you a letter if you don't.
Yeah.
Threaten to revoke your license if you don't.
Yeah, I've never harvested a bear. I've, every time I go bear hunting, get them on camera until it's bear season, and then they're gone.
Yeah, so we hunt bear by baits and hounds, and then there's chance engagements with bear too.
Now, you doing the guide for it's Oak Grove.
Groville.
What?
Grove Hill.
Grove Hill, I'm sorry. Is that, the guys come from all over for that?
Yeah, so we get guys from all over the place. I don't know what the furthest is, mostly on the East Coast guys, but Pennsylvania, New York, Jersey, mostly local, within 3 or 4 states of us.
Okay.
But every once in a while you get a guy that, like from South Dakota. We had a guy from two guys from South Dakota last year, and some further in Missouri, so like that every once in a while.
What's an average bear up there?
So an average bear, so there's, not like North Carolina. North Carolina's got some, I think it has a record bear in North Carolina, but an average bear there is about 150 pounds.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
And,
I thought they'd go down like cold weather, they'd be really.
well, that's the thing, so
Cold weather.
they hibernate.
So long.
So North Carolina doesn't, the
Yeah,
bear
they
don't
don't
hibernate down here. So they burn off all their energy.
Gotcha.
But, we've killed a 500-pound bear,
Mhm.
but a 500-pound bear is like, you shoot out of us, we'll maybe shoot one 500-pound bear a year.
Okay.
And then,
500-pound bear in North Carolina, you're not even touching, the state records.
Oh, yeah,
Eight,
there's
six.
No.
I think
Seven something.
seven something now,
Seven.
but you gotta be in the 600-700s to be in the top 5.
yeah,
Most of the top 10s are 600-pound bears.
They just killed a big one last year, was it? I think it was the west part of the state, wasn't it? That 700 some pounder?
yeah, there's,
Something,
There's a
782, I think,
Big.
big bear.
That's solid,
yeah.
solid.
So that's the thing with bear up there is like, so there's a lot of bear up there. We call them the black ghosts because they're just like ghosts up there. Literally.
Yeah.
And they're in the spring they eat, they're hard on fawns and moose
Yep.
moose calves. But other than that, they're in, it's weird because if they have if it's a thin bear feed year, the bear gets faster.
Okay.
So you get bigger bear. If there's no food in the forest for them, the food is thin, so they put on their fat faster than they would if there was more food in the forest itself.
Because they're hibernating, they need that fat for
Right.
for their hibernation.
So they'll go hibernation early if there's a thin year. So they'll eat. I can't remember what the actual terminology is, but they'll eat heavier in a thinner year and go and hibernate sooner.
What's a typical hibernation up there?
It depends on the winter itself. They could go to hibernation in October.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, October's winter for y'all. October, second summer here,
Yeah.
late summer.
So, but there's times if there's a heavy year, they may not go until December.
And when do you start getting your heavy snow in that area?
Usually January, February
okay.
is like your heavy snow. You'll have snow up to that point, and then you could have snow all the way to Mother's Day.
Really?
So,
How long are they hibernating for? When are they? Because your season, you said, is
yeah, so the actual date, I couldn't tell you by month, but, they have their offspring in the hibernation.
okay.
So spring, they're coming out during spring, but sometime during that winter process, they are having their babies.
Okay.
So
I'm not really versed in the bear hibernations because they don't do it here. So.
Yeah. I want to get back to your gear selection. So for coyote hunting, what gear are you running? Tripod, your scope, your thermal, day setup, and that stuff.
I'm using death grip just like that, and then for a tripod, the only thing I need to so with the Leica on my scope, the clip on, I need to have a thermal that I can spot with. That's the one piece I'm missing.
Right.
So with my buddy, we're using his scope. He's got a night vision scope and a thermal.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to use one of those for either spotting or not.
I'd shoot off the night vision spot with the thermal because
For sure.
it's the thermals you're gonna
You're going to
quicker
see
pick
them
it up.
faster, yeah.
And the night vision setups are great. I mean for shooting.
What calibers are you running?
I'm running 308.
Oh yeah, you said 308, 110 grain VMAX.
Yeah.
Your buddy running the same.
223 VMAX for 95 grain bullets.
55 grain or 53 grain.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, for
but he's running
223,
VMAX.
53 to 60 grain.
Yeah, so he's using the VMAX though. had a pretty good effect with a VMAX.
Or
If you're hitting a coyote with a VMAX, you're pretty much he's going down.
Yeah, a lot of people say, you see them all the time on Facebook or wherever, they start knocking the 223 is not a suitable round for coyotes. I just, you can't shoot or you don't know your weapon, because, I mean,
you hit him in the vitals with that 55. I've done it I ran a 223 for the first 5 years.
Yeah.
I just went to the 6.5. That 6.5 goes slam through him, blows out the other side, which we're not keeping first. But that 55 always penetrated, but very rarely did you have an exit.
Yeah.
I mean, it hit, expanded,
Stays in.
gave him a shot.
I think the VMAX is an astounding round for varmints. I think the Hornady knocked it out of the park on that one. But when it comes to 223, just like, I don't care what you're using, shot placement. You shoot them in the guts with the 308 110 grain VMAX, the dog's going to run. You shoot them in the gut with a 223 53 grain VMAX, the dog's going to run. You put the bullet where it's supposed to go. The bullet will do its job. You just got to do your job and get it there.
The 308 110 grain bullet is freaking devastating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them. I just haven't set it up. I got my 308 set up for deer hunting. I haven't turned it into a night gun yet.
Yeah, that's the only thing is with the clip on. I like to keep it on and then not mess with it.
What kind of run time you get out of that?
Actually, a long, 2 or 3 days.
Oh really?
Yeah, so I've yet to burn the battery out of it to a point where I've had a problem with it. So I'll run it because it's got a sleep mode in it too.
Yeah.
So you run it in sleep mode when you're looking around, or my buddy's looking around through his thermal. And then I may be running the call itself. So it depends on who's calling.
What call are you running?
Fox Pro.
Okay. What model?
It's the dual speaker. It's the I don't know which one it is.
Shockwave, Hammerjack,
It is
Shockwave.
Good call.
Yeah.
You running any MFK sounds or Tony Tebby or anything like
So
that?
my-
It's all Fox Pro stuff.
So my buddy runs some MFK sounds, and he likes those. But usually I like to run my Fox Pro because I seem to have the right setup for it. It's just easy for me.
What works?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll run a sound if it's working. We're running it.
What's funny is, like you said, is like you go to your go-to, right?
Yep.
Maybe be a cottontail or whatever.
That's right.
And then you throw something weird in there. Sometimes that weird sound is just enough to bring them in.
Yeah, it's curiosity is another one of the triggers people talk about, and having something that they haven't heard before. A distress sound is a distress sound. Like, I don't believe that a coyote knows, hey, that's a baby cottontail, or that's a jackrabbit, or that's a snowshoe hare.
Right.
They hear the pitch and that sound, that's distress, that means food. I need to go look at it. Same thing with the coyote vocals. I don't think that coyote knows, hey, that's a female. I don't think they can distinguish sexes between the howls.
No.
It's a strange coyote in my area. I'm coming to fight or fuck.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
No, again, we go back to Tory Cook, guys, and we do because we listen to him, and the man has raised coyotes for years, and what he's putting out makes sense.
Yeah.
The whole pecking order part of, just, when I started, I always ran prairie distress, right? Because I didn't want to run a coyote vocal because I didn't want to scare these coyotes,
Yeah.
Well, it's just like my house dog, and you got a mountain law here, and I got a Yorkie. My Yorkie's in the house right here. Sees you out here earlier with your mountain law. He's trying to tear the damn door off. Trying to get out there to that mountain law that weighs 100 times more than my Yorkie. But it made sense what Tori said was they don't care. That's the biggest, baddest coyote over there. You're calling off that Fox Pro, right? That's just a strange coyote. He hasn't had his ass whooped by.
Yeah.
My Yorkie ain't had his ass whooped by a Jaeger, right? Now, if I let him out and he takes him down,
You may learn.
he's going to learn. I'm just going to stare at the window and watch him out there running around my yard, right? I mean, every time you've been outside, my Yorkie's at the door or window, just yeah.
Sorry, I throw them the other way.
Yeah, no, you're good. But it makes sense, right? He said, you look at your house dogs. Your house dogs do the exact same thing. So, again, if they're not listening to Tory Cook, John Collins, you're missing out. Because all that pecking order stuff is very true. So
The guys who do call it there, are they running Fox Pro as well?
Mostly I work running all Fox Pros. knows, is this a normal thing to wear
Yeah.
and tear on up there? Because, you know, you can use fox, so up there, you can use it for turkey hunting, you can use it for moose hunting, you can use it for deer hunting, you can use electronic calls for almost everything. So,
Yes, in North Carolina, you print coyotes, crows, hogs, and that's about it.
Yeah.
No big game.
Can't turkey with them.
No big game, no bobcat, no fox.
that's a game changer up there, especially with turkey season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the turkey population? Is it pretty good? Or?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean,
And I'm assuming the eastern turkey.
yeah, East
Okay.
Coast.
So you run in a clip-on thermal. Why did you decide to go with the clip-on thermal vice a dedicated thermal scope?
So the reason I like Leica, because I kind of grew up with a Leica. My military experience is Leica, right? So we had laser rangefinders, we had binos, we had different things, and then I just ran into a guy that had a Leica, and I'm like, man, I really like Leica for some reason, and so I went with the Leica instead of a clip-on or another system. You know, I spent probably a little bit more money than I probably wanted to, but I knew that it was going to be a good piece of gear,
Yeah.
right? And I trusted the system, and I think I did the right thing. But I think there's other stuff out there that's probably just as good, probably not as expensive. And I think the next one I'll probably do a handheld thermal, so I can I get something to eyeball with, and that's my next probably
Well,
thing.
you'll see and then you've been with me spotting and
Yeah.
going to it. So that is a game
Yeah,
changer. Chance was running the scope only.
Yeah, doing the tripod dance.
Tripod shuffle all
Yeah.
night. And then we started, and then he moved on, but that spotter alone just makes that difference. When you can get your money right and get to that next step, it saves you a lot of movement on the stand because you're not.
It does, and at first when I was doing it, I was like, I don't need a spotter, I got the thermal scope, it's just fine, I don't need it, but after about a year, doing the tripod shuffle, neck hurting, bent over,
Looking.
yeah, and just scanning all the way, and then coming out hunting with Timmy, and he's got that spotter, and I'm just looking around, I was like, all right.
Gotta do it, right?
Gotta do it,
So that's the other thing though, as a sniper background,
Right.
we had Simrans, which were clip-ons,
Right.
and then you don't have to re-zero your gun. You take your clip-on off and shoot it during the day, or
Right.
put it back on and shoot it at night.
Yep.
And that clip-on's pretty good, where I could put it on and off, and it's holding at zero pretty good. And I leave it on the system now because I really, for deer season I may take it off and then make sure it's zeroed back
Right.
on for when I get back into coyotes. But other than that, that thing's it's a durable piece of gear, and the clip-on system is really tight. It's made for the system. We've come a long ways, and I was amazed how much that little clip-on. I mean, our Simrans used to be like this big.
Yeah, you had like 100 millimeter
Oh,
objective lens, but your field of view was 20 foot,
Yeah.
with 100 mil lens.
And the other thing is too, so I run 3 power,
Mm-hmm.
and if I really want to see, I could push it up to 10, but you lose that clarity when you put it on 10
Yeah.
power.
Every
But-
time you zoom in, it gets
But
cut in half.
Yeah. But I run it at 3 power, and it's pretty effective.
For your bear setups, are you running 308 as well?
So so hunters come up with all kinds of crack, and sometimes you'd be amazed what a hunter comes up with. You always shoot 30, 35 yards with a bear, and
Coming up with the 338 Lapua?
there's guys that do it.
Yeah.
But it's shooter's choice. When a guy comes up and tells me either moose or bear, I said, what should I bring? I said, bring the gun you're comfortable with, the one you shoot the most.
Right.
So like when I shot my first bear up there, I brought 2 guns. I brought my Weatherby 300 Weatherby 300 mag, and I ended up shooting with my 30-06, a little Model 7 Winchester with a little rifleman Leopold scope on it, and I'm like, because it was only like a 2x7 scope, and the Weatherby head was like 3x10 or 3x14 or whatever it was. You don't need that much scope.
Yeah.
So
So eastern bear hunting versus western bear hunting is going to be a lot different. you're you know, 70 yards, and the western, you may have a 700-yard shot on a bear.
Yeah. I mean, up there, you're like, you see a bear walking into the bait site for sure.
Yeah.
And then if you're hounding, it's totally different too. So, you know, I carry a 10mm pistol during hound season, and that's usually the dispatch weapon if I need it anyway.
Oh yeah.
You know, for either hounding or baiting.
Yeah.
And,
You don't want to roll up on a wounded bear.
yeah.
It's not, you know, cornering.
I'd use my 308 or I have a 35 Remington liver action, Marlin 336, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I like that 35. That's a beautiful gun.
Is it? I haven't killed anything with it sitting in the safe.
You want to sell it?
No, I don't.
I just bought a 4570 the other day and guy gun. And it's a beautiful gun, but it'll probably never come out because the 10mm does the job, and it's a lot easier to carry and lighter.
Yeah.
So, so like I have an extra. I got one extra gun I let hunters use if they got a gun they don't like, or it turns out that something's broke with it, or I shoot a 450 Bushmaster, and that's with a one. I got a Strike Eagle on it.
Yeah, Vortex
Strike Eagle.
1 to 6.
Yeah, it's just good enough to get.
And you said, what are you, 35 yards?
35 yards is probably the max shoot.
You're not trying to do shotgun, they're not doing any shotgun?
They can shoot shotgun, but they shoot slugs.
Slugs, yeah.
But, you know, you have all kinds of different hunters out there trying to do things.
Yeah. I can only imagine, I mean, just in the coyote game, the guys that jump in and they want to bring some weird shit to the game. Hey, the guy's been doing this longer than I have, you know, you see what's working.
I'm all about the right tool for the job.
That's right.
You know, every tool has a specific purpose. Use that tool for that purpose. You can always be overgunned, and I'd rather be overgunned than undergunned in any given situation.
Yeah.
You know, but for the most part, I like the right tool for the job that's going to fit my application the best. All right, we'll go. Oh, I forgot. All right, before we had a technical difficulty break, we were talking about scent control or in scent. And so you guide for bears, you do coyote hunting there. How are the coyotes doing scent down there? Down out west, everyone's talking about how they'll always circle downwind. Here, we don't always see that because of the woods, the terrain features. We don't always see them circling downwind, and they're not always comfortable coming right out in the open. So what are you seeing up there?
So they follow the tree line down usually, and they come out the shortest way out into where the sounds come from, wherever they're. So we try to set up on a tree line or edge, not in an open field. So when they come down it, the scents, the scent's blowing towards us, obviously, and then so they're not getting us, we're getting them, and they come in from the shortest way from the tree line in. So a lot of times it'll be fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be like, he's 30 yards out from us, maybe 60 yards from the actual, Fox Pro.
Yeah. So what's your typical setup? Like, do you like using wind in your face or crosswind?
Depends on. So it's weird there because you got the trees. So usually you try to do a wind in your face, but it always turns into be a crosswind usually. And depends on which side of the field you're on.
That's right.
Which way you're gonna roll with it. You want the long axis coming in from the field so you can see it the best. So I think you find yourself more in a crosswind than you would a downwind.
What size fields are you talking?
There's some fields that are like 600-700 meters, and some are less than 100.
Right. So I mean, that's kind of about here. I mean, we run a lot of 400 to 600 yard fields probably.
Yeah.
I mean, we like to 300s.
So the thing with some of the longer fields is they're undulating, so you get a lot of defilade in there. So you may see them way out,
That's
and then
right.
they disappear,
And
then they come back, right? And like I remember in North Carolina, you got trenches in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So like, bam, they're there, and then next thing you know, they're running down the trench, and they come out 2 or 3 yards up from the trench.
Where I told that story out back, there is a rise in that field, and me not knowing my own property, I'd have coyotes come in, and there was that ridge or that dip in the field, and they'd come in, hit that ditch. Well, they'd pop out closer to the woods. I'd never see them, and I'd be like, he came in and he just disappeared. You know, that goes back to knowing your land, especially when you got new land. Go out there and scout it. Look for those rises and them dips, because, like you said, that coyote might come in and disappear. Could go left, right, or come right up on top of you.
So a lot of times we scout during the day, you know, put a pair of binos on a tripod, have you walk out to where I want to put this, you know, the Fox Pro or whatever, and see where, you know, if I can see his knees, I can see his ankles, you know, and even then, you know, doing that when you go out at night with a thermal.
Yeah,
you know, if you got a hand thermal, just kind of look at it and say, okay, I can see him, I can see him, I can see him. I can look to the right, I can see deflate, or no, and I can't see it, but always kind of observe where that ground is.
So when you're scouting in the daytime to get your range, I don't know, does the Leica have a rangefinder on it, or are you
Nope,
running?
I don't. I have to use a handheld laser rangefinder, which is another Leica, because I like Leica.
Yeah, so you're using that daytime scoping, pre-marking the destinations, or are you trying to do it at night?
Try to remember it. Try to remember where it is during the day to find it at night, which is sometimes a lot harder than you think.
What I used to do before I had the rangefinder, when I go to new properties, I'd take my gun out there and set it up in my phone, and I'd drop a pin where I want to do the stand at, and then I'll walk out to where I'm going to set the call, or hey, what is this over here? And you know, I'll use the Onyx tool to do the line distance for it if I didn't have my thermal or with my laser rangefinder, or I had a little cheap Bushnell one, so sometimes it'd pick something up, sometimes it wouldn't.
Yeah.
So that's what I do, is use that Onyx, and then I can save that line distance in that property, and I can also hide it too, so it's not clouding up all of my.
Usually I try to find like a tree or something that
That's
you could identify it at night. It's a little bit taller than everything else, but sometimes you're just screwed. I mean, I think that was one of the key things is when we started really shooting a lot up there, was finding the distance. You know, okay, it looks like it's, you know, 200 yards out, but it's really only 70 yards out.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just with time you see it different. You see the dang coyote in the scope,
Right.
And
Yeah.
you can identify it a little bit better and better every time.
Yeah.
And it just takes time.
What's your identification on that clip on? Like distance, you know, 200, 300, are you seeing, okay, that's 100%, maybe that's a coyote, or, you know, because I know with our, you know, we're running IRAs at Trijicons. What are you saying? I mean, now we can tell by movement, but
you can,
detection range is a couple thousand yards.
Right.
Identification range, I mean, you know, Timmy and I, we both have quite a few hours behind the thermal. I'm saying 300-400 yards. We, you know,
of 100%, that's a coyote.
That's a coyote.
Now,
That's
6, 7, I can tell you just almost by the way it's moving. A
Yeah.
lot of times. Okay, that's a coyote or a fox.
Yeah.
That ain't a deer, because the deer's not moving like that.
right.
What do you think with that clip on you're running? Do you feel?
I think you probably get the same thing with experience.
Right.
And you know, with it being 3 power on my magnification on my scope, I can identify something pretty easily. Granted, you can't see antlers or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you can see a deer is just a lot longer and taller.
That's right.
But like you said, a fox or a coyote is 2 different things. A lot harder to identify between those 2 things. And then, so we have, you know, different. You know, we got different kinds of animals out there too. So sometimes, you know, you got coons. Sometimes will roll in. You got.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You
We
know,
called it all.
fisher cats is another animal that you cover in, but they're a lot shorter and I think they're a little easier to identify than a fox or a coyote.
Any other strange animals up there?
you got any wolverines or badgers?
Yeah.
Well, a fisher cat's pretty much they'll eat anything. You know, if you have a hen house, they'll kill every chicken in there just for the fun of it. So
Yeah, I heard they're hell on chickens.
they are hell on chickens. But I think that's about it. I think you definitely need a second thermal though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key. I think
the spotter.
The one thing I think that I would add to my kit is a second thermal that I could use, vice relying on my spot, you know, my buddy to find it out too, because 2 thermals are better than 1 thermal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, we've learned that. I mean, we'll go out sometimes 4 people running thermals, which is great because you're sweeping that field all different directions
Yeah.
constantly, and then sometimes we'll go out individually. I'm gonna tell you what,
It's a long
it's
can.
360 degrees by yourself
Yeah.
is tough.
Yeah, what I always do when we have multiple people, even if it's just me and Timmy or me and Becky out there, I try to get kind of like where we
Yeah.
have intersecting lanes of fire or intersecting lanes of view.
Right.
Like, so we're not, but Timmy and I aren't both looking this way at the same time. I want us to be
Yeah.
able to cover because as you know, the coyotes here, they do the same thing. They'll skirt the tree line
Yep.
or they'll come to the edge of the tree line,
Yep.
and then they'll come down and then pop out closest to the call, and then they're right on top of you. So by having us being able to cover as much ground as possible and being able to,
But you're staying in a shorter sweep
short-
distance,
Yeah.
Instead of going. But we all do it. I'll be in my sector, but then I'll come over and because I got to double check,
Yeah.
double check chances there.
This kid's not telling me
it just
there's a
gives you,
coyote over
no,
there.
it just gives you a different view, man. I've been looking over here for 15 minutes, man.
Yeah.
I want to see something a little
Yeah,
different.
but, I mean, how
but as
many-
soon as I do that, he's like, dog right, because now he's in my
Because I'm in
sector.
his
The dog
sector.
popped out.
Yeah, because I see Timmy in my sector. All right, I'm coming in your
And I do
territory.
that. Yeah, I mean, when we're scanning, I might come out my scope, and if just to make sure we're not going together. If I know he's going this way, I'll just keep going this way.
And sometimes my eyes need a rest.
that's exactly it.
Being-
I need something a little different to look at.
Yeah. So
I'm with you the same way. I mean, so that's a good thing, right? You talk about is communication, because
Yes.
between me and my partner, that's the hardest thing we got going right now is the communication piece. Because like when I was in the military, we spoke this way,
Right.
and he totally speaks civilian hunting language. I speak hunting or military.
That's
hunting
right,
language, I
that's
guess you
right.
would say.
Yeah.
So when we first went out there, it was like, okay, what sector you got? He'd be like, what's a sector?
yeah. We had the same thing, hunting with a guy, no military, no law enforcement experience, and my buddy Nate, we hunted together before. He's military. We got some tactical training, so we go up to the area and it's unspoken communication, implied task. He set up here, he knows this is his sector and
Right.
this is his responsibility.
Yeah.
I set up here, this is my area of responsibility. I just presumed and assumed that this guy, kind of common sense, this is what it's going to be, and it ended up not. And
Yeah, communication is key, right? Just figuring out, how you're going to talk out there.
That's right.
Who's going to shoot first? If you're going to shoot together, how do you identify an animal? Are you going to speak? You're going to talk? You're going to tap?
And we've heard all kinds of stories on
Yeah.
that. And we were talking before we started recording tonight about the squeaker.
Yeah.
That was $7 squeaker. I mean, it's killed a lot of dogs.
Squeak, squeak, bang.
So
Yeah.
and that's what this podcast is about, is sharing
Yeah.
ideals and tactics and
We've changed our tactics.
We do.
When Nate and I first came on, him and I, we would take turns. All right, you got the last one. I'm up.
Yeah.
You missed. All right, buddy, you're in the hole. You're on the bench right now. And then we got to like, hey, 2 bullets is better than
Yeah.
1, because we were new to the thermal game and learning that misjudging distance, not knowing our land, not going out there and pre-ranging it,
Right.
beforehand, or trying to do it on site. And hey, this coyote looks at it's 100 yards and he ends up being 240.
Right.
And you're sending them short, or hey man, last time we misjudged that one short, so he's probably, instead of being 100 yards, we judge him at 300 and we're shooting over him.
Yeah.
So we did that. We changed our tactics. We got to where it was 3, 2, 1 shoot, and then it got squeak, squeak when they stopped. You shoot, and then just communication. And I was always worried to talk. They'll hear me. They're
Right.
hearing so good, they'll hear me. But it got to a point now where I'll
Yeah.
talk in a normal voice, like, "Hey, Timmy."
It's amazing what they can't hear, right?
Yeah, and what they
And-
can hear.
And that's, like
But, yeah,
with anything, right?
I mean, I'm not saying we don't.
You don't
We
yell.
communicate it pretty much from the time we see them. But I mean, once that dog is inside 200, we already know. My thing is, let him get as close as possible. As long as he ain't showing any signs of getting nervous, like he's gonna skedaddle. Prime example, one in the tournament, he knew the one we killed at the Hall Farm where the path was. He knew that path was there, and he's hunted this property before. So he knew if that dog got to that path, it wasn't going to come to us any closer. He was going to hit that path and disappear. And of course, I didn't know that, but he's like, I gotta stop him. He's gonna get to the path. I don't know about no damn path.
Yeah.
But sure as shit, that dog got right there. That's when you had to bark at, because we squeak. He would not stop. He was coming in, and I know you hit the remote to a howl.
Yeah.
And that slammed the brakes on, and we dumped him. But he was heading to that path where he's.
I mean, I've been hunting that property multiple times, and 4 or 5 times cows have gotten to that path. I'm waiting for them to come in. They're skirting that tree line.
Yeah, they're skirting the tree line. That's what he was
And
doing.
they're going to come in at a 90-degree angle straight to the call. Nope, they get to that path and they go into the woods every single time. And I've set up in different places. I've set the call differently. We've set where we're right in line with them. We set offset. Whatever we can do. Did they see us? Did they wind us? What happens when they get to that path? They decide they're gone. And I was like, okay, hey, did they see the call? So I lowered the call. I put a decoy on the call. I sprayed coyote urine around the call just in case the wind shifted, because we don't have set winds. It swirls all the time.
It does.
And when they get to that path, they go right down it, and I never see them again. I don't know if they're going that path and coming around.
Circling all the way around you.
But the road bisects that section of woods and this other section of woods, the road that we enter on. So I don't know how they're getting away or if they're circling back. Don't know. But every coyote that we killed there, I've killed before they got to that path. They get to the path, we lose them.
Are you running any coyote urine?
No, I just heard that, so I was thinking, I was going to ask you a question. So Foxborough, cow urine, or urine, coyote urine, and then what kind of
I got a bottle of it at the house. I'll give you some before you leave.
yeah,
We've had them come up and put their nose in the call.
Yeah.
What kind of decoy are you using?
It's the X decoy for Foxborough, and it's on there and it just spins.
Oh, this is spinner then.
Yeah, I do have a full
so
body
you don't have
decoy.
a full body mount?
I've had a full body one, the plastic Lucky Duck, a Foxborough, Mojo, whatever one it is, the full one. I've used it once and I scared away a coyote. I used it a second time. It came in, was coming hard to the call, saw it, locked up, and then
what kind of call were you using?
First it's Foxborough X24, and the
What
sound.
kind of call?
The sound I was using. The first time I was using Howes when it came in, it came to the call, saw the coyote, saw the decoy, and then turned left. The second time I was playing Rabbit Distress, and the coyote, it was a female, she came in hard, and then once she came around the corner and she got it was low area, I'm up here on a hill and with the decoy in the call. As she came up to the hill and she could get eyes on, she locked up and just stared at it, and she was kind of quartering away from me. I squeaked, got her to look at me, and then she kind of turned front side to me, and I just put one in her chest. So I don't use a full body decoy anymore. But the coyote urine, I've had them come in, will not use it, get to the call, win my scent, that had permeated in the area, and bolt. I spray coyote urine around it. It confuses them. They're like, "What's going on?" And they stop just enough for us to drop them.
If they make it your call, and we've had, and them skirting that tree line and getting right to and then that 30-yard bolt to it.
Yep.
If you can pick up an extra second or two while they're at that call, it's worth the investment. Remind me to leave. I got a whole bottle of it.
Yeah. We'll put it in Tasha's new truck.
Yeah. Right in. Spill it right.
Just don't spill it.
Don't spill it.
Imagine.
What else? You got anything else?
I don't know. Let's see.
Zeke?
What else?
Any other?
I think one of the neatest things I saw one night when on my thermal was I had a sow, bear, and a cub come in.
Oh yeah.
Off of Rabbit Distress.
Right.
And he got in and got a little spooked and went the other direction, but that was pretty neat seeing a big old bear come in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We again take a lot of people, man, and they just love seeing that wildlife out there.
Oh yeah.
Guys that bear and deer and raccoons running around, and and it is cool. I mean, I still enjoy it today. Freaking this time of the year with the velvet, we can see some horns.
Yeah, we saw one the other night. Big buck. He was a solid 8-point. We saw him at like 400 yards.
It's crazy how you can see him in velvet and
Yeah.
thermal, but you can't see him.
Well, once they drop that velvet,
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah. No, we've enjoyed switching over to the thermal game. I started lights, did some digital night vision. then had a cheap thermal, and then that just wasn't working, and then progressed up to thermal. I wish I should have just jumped whole hog from the beginning, buy once, cry once.
Yeah, but we've had kind of had a little bit of that conversation, and we're going to talk gear. But some guys get into some things, and that one budget wise, or they don't know if they're going to stick with it. So
I see a lot. When I was young, when I first started coyoting, the lights, green light was key, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, but they adapted after a period of time. We had to adjust a little bit,
right.
Yeah.
and
There's a study on green lights, red lights, but then you watch, Chris Robinson, they're running white freaking movie lights,
Yeah.
Tubes this big.
Stadium lights.
Texas, stadium lights,
Yeah.
and they're just.
Well, that's in Texas. Texas, they
Coyotes
there's a
coming
big light game in Texas. And they build these predator racks and hunting racks and rigs and drive through and do safari style hunting. And people red lights, green lights, whatever. But white lights are making a comeback. Chris Robinson has showed them the way of how to do it. You blind that coyote, you keep the light in its eyes, and it will rely on its sense of hearing and smell to come in. And he's got them 10 yards from the truck and
he's
shot
got them on top
really?
of the truck.
Yeah.
that light didn't scare him off though, huh?
No, I mean sometimes light shy coyotes, stuff like that. Just educated coyotes. I think a coyote can be educated to almost about anything. Becky and I were hunting a couple of weeks ago, and we have these green lasers that we've put on our rifles on the M-lock just to mark the last known location or where the animal dropped at to help us find it in tall brush or the fields. Becky was looking for it, and I'm trying to talk her on, hey, 12 o'clock from the tallest tree. She's like, I don't see it. I was like, follow my laser, and I put the laser right in front of it. The coyote saw the laser and went into the field, or went into the woods, left the field, went into the woods from it. And I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but cats can see the laser. My dog sees the laser. Why wouldn't the coyote see it? I didn't think it would bother him. I just said, here, look at it. And he saw it, and it bothered him. And but we were able to call him back into the field and get him killed.
Nice.
So with that being said, red light or red laser and green laser is way better.
Mm-hmm.
I think yes for marking.
Oh my God.
I think red laser for lasing stuff, or maybe because supposedly coyotes don't see red as well,
right?
And fox don't see red as well. That may be better, but as far as identifying, for the human eye, that's why humans like the green light so better. We see green better than we see red.
We're using it for. We're not using it for the hunting aspect. It's for the marking. Tall grass or even in a cut down.
Yeah.
Put the laser on. You walk to that area. And you start your search there a lot faster.
Yeah, especially in tournament time when we drop them, we're running out there.
Right.
You waste a lot of time trying to find a
coyote.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll tell you, I love that green laser. It's super. Bright out there at night.
Yeah.
So even during the day, a green laser is way better than a red laser. You can see it further distance and everything like that. So I run a green laser on my flashlight.
Okay.
Originally, I had a red one.
Mm-hmm.
And during the day, if you have to, dispatch an animal, sometimes it's hard to find that red dot.
Right.
The green dot is like, whoa, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think that goes back to what you said. We can see that green a little bit better.
for sure.
I like the green laser. For a long time on my defensive pistol, I had a Crimson Trace. Laser grip was red, and as soon as Viridian came out with the green one,
Go right to it.
I went right to it. I like it. Don't have a problem with it. I quit carrying it just for some legal reasons, like was it Michigan or Illinois? Concealed carry person involved in a concealed carry shoot, and he had a laser on it, and he was then sued by the suspect's family for whatever it was. They sued him civilly, and they were saying the defense was, or the prosecution that was suing the concealed carry citizen, was that he had a laser on his gun to make it more lethal, to make him, he was a predisposition mindset to shoot and kill someone. That's why he had the laser on it. Just like the officer in Arizona that had smile, you're fucked, or you're fucked on his personal AR that he was using as a duty weapon, which he was authorized to do, and they relieved him from the force, and he was sued by the suspect's the deceased family because he had a predisposition mindset that he was going to shoot no matter what, and that was his
Where was that at? On his
That was in
magazine?
Arizona, which
Yeah, I read
surprised
that-
me.
I
Arizona
read
is
that
pretty.
article.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years ago.
Yeah, it was 2014, 15,
Yeah,
16,
somewhere
sometime
in
in
there.
that time frame.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I've taken a lot of that stuff off. You know, there's a
A lot of that could be geographical, you know, that's
Yeah.
lawyers being
Well,
lawyers.
it's just like, there is a maturity level on that whole piece too.
yeah.
I
yeah.
don't disagree.
You know, how many times would you know, if a Marine could do it, you see a Lance Corporal out there with the fucking "you're fucked" or
Yeah.
all that. They put something that would get them in trouble on their weapon.
Yeah, but Marines and been writing shit on bombs for years. I mean, let's go
Well,
back.
there's no evidence. There's no
Oh,
evidence.
there
that
is.
they dropped a bomb.
There's old pictures of bombs with some
Yeah.
sayings on it, the aircraft.
That's like, a guy rolling up to date your daughter. He's got a sticker on the back of his truck that
Yeah.
says something, you're like, you're not dating my
Yeah.
daughter, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can turn around and you can leave.
You
right,
get,
that's
get
right.
out of here, dude.
Yeah. I went to date this chick and I was in high school and she's like, hey, you gotta go talk to my dad. I was like, okay, no problem. I'm not afraid. So I went up, knocked on the door, introduced myself. Hey sir, Chance, I'd like to take your daughter out on a date. And he's like, okay, where do you plan on go? When are you gonna pick her up? When you plan on being home? All that stuff. And I was like, well, when would you like her home? And he's like, 10 o'clock. I was like, fair enough, sir. I'll have her home by 10 o'clock. And we stood up, shook hands. He reached his hand in his pocket, pulled out a 45 ACP round, tossed it to me. He said, 10:01, that thing comes a lot faster. I was like, good to go.
Hey.
Oh, man.
Well, I think that's pretty long.
Yeah. Hey, so Brian, why don't you tell people where they can
Yeah.
find Grove Hill Outfitters at, and if they want to request you as a guide or any questions, do you have any social media that you'd like to post?
Well, I don't know if I don't have any social media, but I will tell you, Grove Hill Outfitters out there in Brownville, Maine, great organization. It's family run, orientated, veteran owned, and we do bear hunting and moose hunting, deer hunting too also. And guy that runs it is that guy named Craig Corzai, and you can find us on Facebook, Grove Hill Outfitters.
Yeah.
Or there's a website also. I don't know the website name off the top of my head, but if you Google Grove Hill Outfitters, you will find it. Brownville, Maine.
Well, Z, I appreciate you coming on. I know you got a pretty busy week here, down here visiting. So, take a couple, an hour, 2 hours out of your day to come talk to us about a little bit of different perspective from the Maine side of.
Well, I learned a lot too, so that's for sure.
Well, maybe we might be able to slip out this week. I don't know.
Yeah, you let me know.
Yeah. I know
Thursday, but yeah, we can figure something out.
Yeah,
I should have brought that. I should have brought my AR down.
yeah. I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, I think Timmy and I got a spare rifle.
Yeah,
You can
we got
use
one
somewhere.
of us got a gas gun somewhere.
Gas gun.
Yeah.
That's
All
what
right.
it's like. My buddies come see me in Maine. I always have to have a gas pistol for them.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when you're 2A family or something. When guys come to you and you don't get them a bottle of whiskey or whatever. They get you a guest gun that you can use while you're carrying it, because sometimes you go through states that
Yeah.
don't allow you to
Oh, yeah, for
have
sure.
to have certain weapons.
Or you're flying in an airplane, you just don't want to mess with it, right?
Yeah, that's a
Right.
pain in the butt.
So,
All right, guys. This has been Preying on Predators, Drop Zone Hunting with Bryan Zickefoose here. I just want to thank you for your time. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. And if you have any questions, please post them down below or send them to us. We'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks.
Cool. Appreciate it, brother.